Good morning and welcome to our latest webinar from Chapman Robinson and Moore. This webinar is to provide an introduction to Xero, the cloud accounting software that's really taken the industry by storm right now. Just first of all, a little bit of introduction from myself. My name is Mike Foster. I'm the Commercial Director at Chapman Robinson and Moore. I've been with the firm full-time since December last year. My responsibility is to help our clients get the most, I suppose, from software such as Xero to help them develop and improve their business. Just a little bit of housekeeping. You should all be on muted sound, but if you'd like to ask a question, you can see in the toolbar there's a chat facility and you can type a question in there at any time and I'll either answer it immediately or I'll save it to take questions at the end if it's going to come up later in the presentation. If I could just check that everybody could hear me, perhaps you could use that chat facility now to put a Y or type yes in there to indicate that you can hear me okay. Okay, lovely, thank you. So what will we cover today? Well, I'm going to do a very brief introduction to Xero. Then I'm going to look at a product demo, going through the software on a live version, looking at how to set up an account, the bank feeds and reconciliation, the raising of invoices, both sales and purchase invoices. I'm going to give you an overview of the app and look at how the expenses comes into the software. I'm going to talk about the business dashboard, the reporting, and provide an overview of some of the add-on partners that you can use alongside Xero itself. So first of all, I'm sure many of you have heard of Xero already. Like I say, it's the cloud accounting software that's taken the industry by storm. They've been around actually since 2006. They operate in multiple regions, including the UK, US, Australia, and their birthplace, New Zealand. And actually Xero are publicly listed in Australia and New Zealand, so they're not a company that's just started. They're very established and a good base already in the countries mentioned. Worldwide, they've added 318,000 subscribers in the last year, now over 1.35 million subscribers worldwide, and in the UK they've just passed 250,000 subscribers just in the UK alone. Xero is built on the Amazon Web Service, which enables us to use the cloud technology, meaning that we have anytime, anywhere access to our accounts. It provides us with efficient accounting practices, which hopefully I'm going to share with you with the demonstration today. And it also provides us with real-time information. Now, I'll just put a caveat on real-time information. Obviously, it's only as good as the information you've actually put into the software. However, with the bank feeds, it is automatically pulling in your up-to-date information. And again, I'm going to talk to you today a little bit more about the mindset change in terms of how you may do things like your bank reconciliation or use your accounting software. Now, the cloud technology also enables you to work with improved collaboration with your advisors, such as Chapman Robinson and Moore. For example, we work with our clients to check their data on their own machine from a remote location, or we would advise them, if required, from a remote location, either on the use of the software or just in terms of the performance of their business. Now, as you'd expect, Xero is very security conscious, and they take backups daily, off-site, and full backups weekly. And on that point of security, you set up your own username and password, but we also recommend that you set up the two-step authentication process. Now, the two-step authentication process requires you to download an app on your mobile phone, either through iOS or Android. It's the Google Authenticator app, and when you click on the app, it gives you a 6-digit password, and that's your second step of authentication before you access into the software. Now, the software itself is very intuitive, very easy to use, which again I'm hopefully going to demonstrate to you, but there's help provided in many ways, and again I'll show you some of these a little bit later, but there's many videos, lots of text, lots of support. You can speak to Xero support direct, or there is a forum of users where they've asked their own questions. So we'll have a look at those a little bit later. So let's have a look into the software itself, and I'll take you through some of the sort of key areas, if you like. Now, the first thing you can see, we are actually using demo company. If you were to add an organization here, which I'm not going to do, but I will show you in the settings what information you have to provide. Now, if we look at organization settings to start with, you can see that you're required to provide obviously company name, upload your logo, so it's there for your invoices if you're going to raise invoices in the system, and then just simple things like your address, telephone number, the standard business information. The second one to look at is financial settings. This is where you would indicate if you're registered for VAT, which VAT scheme that you're using. You indicate your financial year end, if there's any tax defaults for your sales and purchase invoices, and then if you come down, you have another aspect here where you can actually lock down data. So that means if you've got to your year end, you can set your year end dates here and then can't post back beyond that period. Also in settings, you've got your invoice settings. I'll come back to those a little bit later. You've got your users I'll come back to. But it's also important to mention the tracking categories. Now, if you use software such as Sage, for example, you may be used to the phrase departments. This is very similar. So a tracking category would start with the tracking category name in terms of region or departments, and then your category options in terms of what those would be. So in here, we're talking regions and the different region areas. This is really useful if you want to drill your business further into things like departments or regions or very similar. Now, you may be using another software at this moment in time, and if you are looking to migrate to Xero, you may wish to use a service called Move My Books. Go to the website, Move My Books. It's a service linked to Xero at this moment in time. If you're transferring from certain software, then Xero will pay the £180 transfer fee. That £180 fee transfers your current data and the last full financial year. If you want to transfer further data back in terms of years, it's £60 per year. And if you want to transfer information such as your departments, then again, that's an additional £60. Now, we've done this for a number of our clients, and so far it's been very smooth, very accurate in terms of the transfer, and minimal tidying up after the migrations come across, carrying all the information you'd expect to be able to drill down into further data. When you do convert your data across, again back in settings, you've got these conversion balances, and again this is a good way of checking. This would be your trial balance that you're closing down from the old software, bringing forward into this new software. So I want to take you through some of the features today, and the first one I'm going to show you is your bank accounts and your bank reconciliation. Now, this is the company dashboard. I'm going to come back to this a little bit later, but you can see down the left-hand side the bank accounts that you've got listed here. Another way to access there is through accounts and bank accounts. And again, you can see the bank accounts listed from here. Now, if you hadn't already connected your bank feeds automatically, you'd have a box here saying to set up bank feeds, and that takes you through a process where you log into your online banking, authorize Xero to talk to your online banking, and it will automatically pull down the feeds, even sometimes without you needing to refresh. Now, not everybody's going to want to or able to set up automatic bank feeds, so you may wish to, if you look at manage account, import a statement. So for example, Xero have partnered with many of the main banks and some of the challenging banks to put up automatic bank feeds. But if you are a bank that's still looking at the link, you can download in various different file formats from banks, and then you can look at this CSV template, which is just downloading, and you can see the format of that spreadsheet. So again, you can take your data out of the software like Barclays, for example, and then import it into this format. So if we just look at this format in a bit more detail. Now, I was doing this only yesterday. I was exporting a statement from Barclays Online Banking, and I literally had to change 2 columns for it to fit this spreadsheet. So it's not difficult to use, it's not difficult to do. Okay, so let's go back to bank accounts. So if we just scroll down and click on this blue button, this is basically to go in to do our bank reconciliation. Now we can see some immediate balances. The balance in Xero, that's predominantly the information you've input into Xero already. So for example, if you've paid off an invoice already, or if you've paid a supplier invoice, or you've made a bank payment in Xero, that will be accounted for in this balance. And that can be seen by clicking on this account transactions tab here, where again you can see that full list of all your transactions. And then if you look on the right hand side, you can see whether that's a transaction that's already been reconciled or unreconciled. And the unreconciled elements will be the difference between these two balances, generally speaking. The statement balance is actually the balance as in your bank account, what's been pulled down as the last balance, either as part of your import or your automatic bank feed. And that is within the bank statements tab. So again, you can scroll down here and you can see the difference between what's been reconciled and unreconciled. And again, this is, like I say, depending on what stage you're at in terms of inputting. If you've put all the information in, the unreconciled will show in account transactions, but the bank statements will predominantly give you a lot more information about what's not been unreconciled. Now, historically, like I say, it's touched upon earlier, it may be a mindset shift for you about how you use Xero, because some businesses can literally run their accounting software and their record keeping just off of this reconciliation tab. The reconciliation tab is literally all the bank transactions, an income and expenditure account, if you like. And if you're not managing debtors and creditors, if, for example, you've paid your invoices immediately on receipt, or you've been paid instantly for your payments, you're not going to have any debtors and creditors, it's very simple to do without even putting an invoice on. The other tab, just quickly, is cash coding. If we look at cash coding, this gives us a summary of those items that have to be reconciled. And if I was to sort them by payee, if you look at all these ones here, are all central parking. If we tick them all, and we go to the account and we say, okay, that is a parking fee, or let's say a travel fee. You can see as I select that for one, because I've ticked all those, it auto-fills all those areas. And if I save and reconcile those, you can see currently on the right hand side here it's 28. If I select OK, it automatically reconciles those 5 and takes that down to 23. So it's one of the ways you can really speed up your reconciliation on those regular items. Now let's have a look at the actual reconciliation tab then in a bit more detail. So this on the right hand side is the information that you've put into Xero. This side is the information that's been pulled in through your bank statement. So you've got areas of match, create, transfer, discuss. Now, the first couple you can see in terms of transactions, what Xero has cleverly done, based on this money that you've spent to Thruxton Property Management, it's realised that you had an invoice outstanding for Thruxton Property Management for exactly the same amount, and it's probably also accounted for the invoice number that you quoted as a reference. It's suggesting that's a match, and if you're happy, you just say, okay, that's fine. So again, in other software, what you've had to do is you've had to pay the invoice off before and then come into reconciliation. What Xero's cleverly doing is posting the payment and doing the reconciliation at the same time. So likewise here with Ridgeway University, this time it's money that's been received, £6,187.50, matches what's in the bank account, the invoice number matches, I'm happy with that, to say OK. Now City Limousines gives us an example of where we've used the Discuss tab. So if you're sharing the bank reconciliation, perhaps with one of your advisors or a fellow person in the business, what you can do is put a discussion message here, asking what's this invoice relate to, don't know how to code it, and the other person would then see that message when they came into the bank reconciliation and could complete that information for you. So if, for example, I was coming back in now and I know what City Limousines was for, again it's for travel, I can now go into the Create tab because there isn't an invoice, it's a payment I made on the card, for example. I didn't have an invoice for it, I might have a receipt, but I can go in here, I can put City Limousines. It's already one there. I can create a new contact. I can choose what it's for. So again, it's travel. And then I can put a description, my car to exhibition centre. And again, if I'm happy with that information in terms of how it's allocated, it's got the default 20% VAT. I can change that to any of my VAT rates here. So let's say this one's got no VAT on. If I'm happy with that, I can just click OK. You can also click on Add Details at this point, look a bit deeper, and you could break that payment down. So say, for example, £75 of it was the hire fee, £25 was a parking fee. You could break that separately if you wanted to. Okay. So again, we've got green, so we can click OK. Now, let's have a look at some other examples as we go down. So here's one, for example, where what's called a bank rule has been created. So what's happened, it's suggesting that Ridgeway Banking Corporation is related to bank fees. Why is it as a bank fee? I agree with that. I'm going to click OK. So that could be in relation to either a rule that's been created, which I'll show you in 2 seconds, or just that Xero recognises that you make a lot of payments to Ridgeway Banking Corporation, and it's recognising that they are always posted to bank fees. So let's say OK. So let's take, for example, then Cooper Bakery. We can see here that we've got 2 payments to Cooper Street Bakery, one here and one here. Now we're going to create a rule. I'm going to recommend to take out the description because that's not specific for our search. It may be relevant to the payment. I'm going to take out bakery, so it's basically anything to do with Cooper Street, and I tend to use contains rather than equals, but again, depends on the rule you're setting up. We're always going to add the information to Cooper Street. Sorry. Okay, as a client, that enables us to drill those transactions in a future time. And let's say, for example, that my payment at Cooper Street Bakery is for entertainment, just for purposes. And again, there's no VAT, let's say, on those payments, and 100% gets allocated to entertainment. The reference can be taken off the bank reconciliation, off the bank feed, the business bank account, and it's called Cooper Street Bakery, excuse me. So if we click Save. Now, what I can do is if I go back into bank accounts just quickly, you can see this button here, bank rules. So I click on there, it gives me all the examples of the bank rules that I have. Okay. So let's pop back into that bank rec. And what we will see now, fingers crossed, is now it's suggesting in terms of Cooper Street that do I want to apply the rule for Cooper Street Bakery? And if I'm confident and I know my rule, I can just say OK. If, for example, the second one I can't remember what it is, I can click on View Details. It pulls up the information. Oh yeah, it's entertainment. So save that transaction. And again, reconcile. And again, you would have seen when we were in the bank rules, 7-Eleven had a bank rule set up, so I can confirm that one. Okay. This one example here, you can see is to the bank deposit account, so it's £1,000. So this enables me to show you the other tab, which is the transfer tab. And here you just select the bank account that's going to the savings account and click OK. And it does the transfer for you and does the bank reconciliation again. Again, we can see another example here of a suggested match. Now, this is you can see just got a slightly different reference number. So I'm not confident that that's exactly the same invoice. So at this point, I can go to find and match. And what this does, it brings up a list of all the outstanding invoices. And if you can either click on search from here, or you can put in a name or a reference or an amount. So let's just put in £49, for example. It would bring us up all the invoices of £49. Sorry, it's £49.90. It just brings up that one. Now, obviously the thing to be careful of is it may be a part payment or an overpayment. So in this case, I'm just going to search Wilson's. It's actually the only one I've got, so perhaps the invoice number has been put in correctly. The amount's the same, so I'm happy that's going to be okay. Now, if, for example, that was a part payment, and it was a part payment of this invoice for Swanston Security, you can see that you now get this option to split. And if you click on that link, it comes up with a box saying I want to allocate £49.90 against that full invoice. Click the split, and it basically splits the payment between the overpayment and the sorry, not the overpayment, the difference that's still outstanding and the payment that's been made. But we're okay on that Wilson one being the £49.90. So just to show you that again, we got another transfer there. Let's remove that one. There's another Wilson's. Another bank account. So just to show you that find and match again. So we've received £2,000 from this customer here. It's not suggested a match. But if you click on match, it does the same, goes to the find and match. We can search for the company name. There's nothing related to the company name, so we don't know actually what that relates to. No other specific details. So it may be that it's related to Port and Phillip, for example. So again, I could allocate the full amount against the first invoice, tick the second one, but then come into split, allocate this remaining £5 against that invoice, hit split, and you can see what it's saying. It's saying £5 has been allocated for the full amount and leaves you £245 of that invoice outstanding. Now, I was actually asked yesterday in terms of if I receive a payment that is like a payment on account, can I post it? Yes, you can. You just go to plus, you go receive money, choose which account it's come into, and then change this from direct payment to overpayment, and then choose your customer that you've received the money from in advance, and then put the details of the amount in, and that will allocate it into their account. Once it's been allocated into their account, later you will raise the invoice, and once you've raised the invoice, you get a button on here that says, do you want to apply the credit? And you would just say yes, a box comes up, and you tick how much you want to allocate. So let's just jump back for a final few seconds into the bank account and just re-clarify what we've done. So where Xero has suggested the matches, we've made sure we're happy with the match and we've clicked OK. If we're unsure, we've created payments. If it's a transfer, we use the transfer. We've got the option to discuss. And if we know there's an invoice that's been raised, we can use the find and match to find it. If we have a regular payment, we can then use the create rule, create the bank rules to find out a bit more information. Or if we've got regular payments, we can jump to the cash coding. And again, we can sort these by payees. Okay, and we've got a few again for payment kiosk, for example, where we can again highlight those, say what they're related to. Again, let's say travel. Lots of travel with this company. And again, we can see it automatically fills there and we can reconcile those items. So that's really how you would do your bank reconciliation. And as soon as you've now reconciled all those items, we've got 9 items left. I'm not going to finish all 9, but when I get to finish all 9, that would be my balance, and I'd have a nice big green tick to say that I've reconciled all the items outstanding. Again, yesterday I was asked that, well, what if I can't do a bank feed or I can't import my bank statement. You can do a bank reconciliation using the account transactions tab, but I won't go through that in too much detail now, but you in effect manually reconcile these items a little bit in like the old way. You've got a bank statement visually in front of you and you tick them off as you go. But if you want to know any more information about that, then please contact us and we'll be more than happy to go through that information with you. You can see various different other options when you use the manage account button. So here you can again use the spend money. So Xero gives you real quick access to do things. You've got ways of doing it here. You've got the plus button here. You've got a new transaction here, for example. When you have done your reconciliation, you have this button alongside the manage account, which is your reconciliation report. If you click on that button, it tells you what the balance is in Xero, the bank account balance you're trying to balance to, 17,071, and then what's outstanding on your bank reconciliation. So again, a good record to keep within the business. So hopefully that's given you an overview of the bank reconciliation. Let's talk now about raising invoices. So again, if we look at accounts and sales, let's look at raising a sales invoice. We can do this through Plus, and a sales invoice is invoice, a purchase invoice is bill. So again, it's using language that business owners are more related to rather than perhaps terminology we use as accountants. But if we say raise a new invoice, again, we get the standard invoice box. Now, we don't have the option to do batch invoices together, line by line, as you may be used to using in other software, but this is just as quick. So I'd use a company name. We don't have to remember codes, so I can just start typing. So, okay, let's say we're going to raise an invoice for Swanston Security. Today's invoice is actually due today as well. An invoice number, I can give it a reference if I want to. Might be a purchase order. Got some branded information here. You can, if you want, click on this button, and if you've got some paperwork behind that, it may be a delivery note, for example, or an order, you can pull that in from your library of information, or you can drag and drop into this box to upload that information. What you would continue to do is then add the information. It might be a description, whatever that may be. One item, say a unit price, choose which account it is allocated to in terms of your sales. The tax rate, again, giving you a drop down of all the tax rates. And if you're going to use departments, it gives you your options here. Now, you could shortcut that if, for example, Swanston Security are always buying a service from you, you could add an item. So and examples are here. And again, we could add a new item. But if we just choose one of the items, you can see what it simply does. Let's say, for example, project management branding. It automatically infills what that item has been set up for. Gives you some standard description, a quantity, a value, how that's going to be allocated. But all this can be changed. So, for example, if I say, well, this time I wanted to charge them £300 for that, and actually I don't want to allocate it just to sales, I want to allocate it to another sales line, other revenue, for example, I can change all of this. I can even change the text and add more if I want. Once I've done this, then I just need to go down, click approve, and now that invoice has been approved. And now I have the option to email that, to print it as a PDF or save it as a PDF to then email through my other systems. Or if this customer is a Xero user, you can use the Xero network, which would fall in the Xero options if you set them up that way, to send the invoice over Xero, so it then goes into their system as a purchase invoice and they get a notification on this top box here to say an invoice has been received. Now here you can link in online payments. If we look at online payments, it looks at the payment options that are available. This one's got a couple of PayPal options. You've got other payment services here. Stripe is another one of receiving cards or credit cards, and you've got your Go Cardless, which is for direct debits. And if you add those to your invoice, there's a lot of evidence that shows that you're likely to get paid quicker because the invoice template would have a big green button on here, click here, and as the person clicks onto that Pay Now button, it takes them to the payment mechanism to make that payment. What you can also do after you've got an invoice that's already been raised, you can raise a repeating invoice. So say, for example, this was some maintenance work and you wanted a regular invoice of £800, including VAT, every single month. You can set that up as a repeating invoice just by clicking repeat, saying how often you want that to repeat. The other thing you can do, if, for example, you think, okay, I want to send a 6 months later, I want to send a very similar invoice to Swanston Security, I can go copy to Swanston Security, go copy, and it goes and allocates a brand new invoice number, and again gives me the information that I can again change around. So let's say now this has now gone up again, it's 450 this time. If I go and approve, what I will now see, if I go back to my sales, Swanston Security have now got 2 invoices outstanding. So again, jump back into one of those. And again, from here, you can edit one that you've already approved, issue credit notes as well. And this is very similar to, if we go and add a bill, very similar to your purchase invoices. You can add a purchase invoice, again, company name, due date, reference, again, any documentation you want to tie in with that, and you just go and type the details, or again, you can add item codes. So if we change the golf balls this time, we can see it automatically put those details through. With the sales invoices, one thing I forgot to show you is that what you can also do is in the new, create a quote. And again, that is same screen. And once you've created a quote, you can easily transfer that quote once it's been accepted. And the process is raise the quote, send the quote, have the quote accepted, and then convert the quote into an invoice. And literally at a click of a button, it creates the invoice by giving the next invoice number. Now, I said I'd mention some apps that Xero partner with. There's 2 apps that are relevant in terms of invoices that we certainly recommend for our clients. One being Auto Entry, the other one called Data Molino. These are invoices that you can scan the invoices into their software using recognition software, OCR software. It will recognize the key details on that invoice, import that into their, or convert that into their software, and then you can check it and import into your Xero account software rather than having to key every single line. So it's really valuable to have a look at the marketplace on Xero and see what apps you can use to support your business. I'm going to just show you the dashboard very quickly. If we look at the dashboard, this is all personalized. You can edit the dashboard here and you can move things around. So for example, if I didn't want bank account at the top, I wanted the accounts wish list over this side, you can drag and drop it that way. This is really valuable, giving you a snapshot of your business. Now, this watch list is quite an interesting tool within the dashboard. If I go to my chart of accounts, and let's say, for example, let's have a look down. See, say, for example, I was concerned about the cleaning, the level of cleaning our company was spending. I could click on the cleaning details. I can tick this box here, show on dashboard watch list, click save. If I jump back to the dashboard, you can see now that the cleaning has come up onto that dashboard to monitor, and that's all drillable. So I can click on there and I can continue to drill down into what that value is. I can drill down into the month. I can drill down specifically into the invoice if I wanted to on that. I will talk about reports in a bit more, but whilst we're talking about dashboard, if we look at all reports, and in the financial section, there is a report section called business performance. And if I choose, there's a number of standard reports in here. But if I was to choose one, let's say gross profit percentage, if I was to click that star, again, if I jump back to the dashboard, you'll see that it's added that business performance onto my dashboard. Interestingly, here we've got invoices owed and bills you pay. So again, you can keep a very close eye on your business. And again, I can click on invoices that are owed to me. I can click on those 11 outstanding. I can drill right down if I want to. I can pay some off if I needed to, or I can look at the invoice in a bit more detail. Also from here enables me to send statements, etc., to remind our clients or customers that they owe us their money. Now, the dashboard for me is really important. I always use that as sort of my driver for an overview of the business, giving me a view of where we are in terms of bank reconciliation, how up to date is our bank reconciliation, how much money are we owed and we are going to be owing. One area down the bottom is called expenses claims, and you can use an app which is provided by Xero, again available in iOS or Android, to take pictures of your receipts and put in a little bit of detail in terms of where you paid it, why you paid it, what it was paid for example, again, travel expenses, allocated against the code line. And again, good thing with Xero, you don't need to remember what's known as nominal codes, reference numbers. So you don't need to remember the nominal code reference numbers. You can just type in travel and up comes the word travel. Like I say, you can retain a picture, and if you submit that, then that comes through into your expenses here. We can see an example whereby £35.20 expenses has come through. And if there is a picture, the picture would be in this part here. Okay, so I'm just going to drop back into that expenses list. From here, I can click on this Woolworths Market. I can submit that for approval. Click that for OK. I've got the authorization, awaiting authorization. So again, we click on the payment. We made the approval. As we did from there. And again, we can say, okay, what's the payment date? Payment date's today. Report date is today. We're going to authorize. And now that drops across into the awaiting payment. In the awaiting payment, I can click here, and again, I can allocate the amount that's actually been paid, what date that's been paid, which account that's been paid from, any reference number, so expenses, MF, and then it's been paid. Okay. So the app's a real simple way of perhaps getting information into your account or accounting software. So I said I'd show you some reports. Again, all the reports are drillable. If I click on all reports to start with, again, anything that you add a star here will be down on your drop-down menu. So you see we've got a star against age receivables. We've got a star against balance sheet, cash summary, and profit and loss. They're all in here as well. If we click on profit and loss to show you as an example, it's one we all probably relate to. Loads of information, we can drill down on this information. We've got a new profit and loss report to view if we wanted to. But again, how do we want the information to show? What periods do we want to show? So we've got period that we're working in now, year to date, and 3 months previously. We can also compare that in regions. So again, we've got the region comparison breakdown against the big picture, if you like, in terms of the total on the right hand side, and then the different regional performance. And again, all this information is drillable. So anything that's blue, we can click on there, drill down into the 625. That's 2 invoices. What was that invoice for? So look at that one. Okay, yeah, now I remember what it was for. So again, really, really useful. I'm just going to touch on settings. Not going to be able to do settings too much here, but in terms of users, Users is where you can designate new users. If this was a live version, you have an add user button here. You just go to add user, you put their name and email in, it sends them an invitation. Before you send the invitation, you just set at what level you want. So do you want them on a read only? Do you want them as full administration rights? Do you want them as advisor basis? If they're on an advisor basis, they just get a couple of other tools that are locked down to other users. And once they've accepted, they can work seamlessly on the software at the same time as you're using the software, or again, your advisors can view the software whilst you're using it. I said I'd also talk about the help screens. So you've got the help, two areas here. First of all, the magnifying glass gives you a load of, I suppose, a video, but then takes you through to their help center. Question mark here. Again, you can type in your question here or go through to the help center. But what I do quite like with Xero is you've got a help for this page. So it's literally, I can just say, okay, I'm on the user's dashboard, click help for here, and it's just as help question and answer, just really around the users. So again, really shortlists the help that's available to me. So as I say, there's over 500 app integrations via the Xero marketplace that will help you personalize Xero and help you run your business. So I certainly encourage you to look at the apps that help you get paid, raise finance, track time, for example, can help you with project and job management, can support you with point of sale. So you may have yourself gone into a shop and seen someone with an iPad and a small card reader. Again, that's using something like Xero and an add-on partner such as Vend to use produce the point of sale material for you. There's other apps, in terms of CRM integration, debtor chasing, so you can automatically chase your outstanding invoices if you wish, and also document management. So I'm conscious that this was just to provide you with an overview of Xero. Hopefully that's been useful. Hopefully that you've seen some of the features and benefits that would support you and your business. If you've got any questions, then please type them into the chat box, and I'll look at responding to those before we end the session. Well, can I just thank you for joining us today? Apologies if you're on a previous session whereby we had some issues with our internet connection, but thank you again for joining us today, and hopefully that was an informative webinar for you. Please keep up to date with the webinars and seminars that are offered by Chapman Robinson & Moore. You can go to our events page on our website and you'll see the information that's available of those events that we've got coming up in the near future. But thanks again for joining us, and speak to you soon.